Aurora Chen's hands trembled as she watched her daughter Maya sit motionless on the playground swing, silent for 18 months since the crash that killed her father. The boardroom predator who'd negotiated billion-dollar deals couldn't coax a single word from her own child. Then a stranger's voice cut through the afternoon. "Want to fly through the clouds with us?" Aurora's breath caught as Maya's head turned the first voluntary response in weeks. What happened next would shatter everything Aurora thought she knew about power healing and the sound of her daughter's voice. If you're ready to witness a journey that proves courage doesn't always roar, stay with me until the end. And comment your city below. I want to see how far Maya's story travels across the world. The March wind carried the scent of cherry blossoms through Crescent Park, but Aurora Chen barely noticed. She sat on a weathered bench, her tailored navy blazer, a sharp contrast to the playground's chaos of primary colors and children's laughter. Her phone buzzed incessantly, the fourth board emergency in as many days, but she silenced it without looking. 20 feet away, Maya stood beside an empty swing set, her small hands hanging loose at her sides, dark eyes fixed on nothing. 18 months. 547 days since the intersection, since the scream of metal, since the last time Aurora had heard her daughter's voice say, "Daddy, look, Maya, sweetheart." Aurora's voice emerged softer than any tone she'd ever used in a conference room. "Would you like to swing?" Nothing, not even a flicker of recognition. Aurora's chest tightened. The child psychologist's words echoed. "Selective mutism following trauma isn't a choice, Mrs. Chen. It's a fortress. And you can't storm a fortress, you have to wait for the gate to open from the inside." 6 specialists, $12,000 in private therapy. Countless nights when Aurora lay awake wondering if her daughter's voice had simply evaporated. A burst of laughter shattered her spiral. Aurora looked up to see a girl about Maya's age racing toward the swings, her black curls bouncing a sunshine-yellow dress bright against the spring afternoon. Behind her, a man in his early 30s jogged to keep pace, a messenger bag slung across his chest, worn jeans and a Henley that suggested comfort over fashion. "Papa, push me to the moon," the girl squealed, launching herself onto the swing beside Maya. The man Marcos Aurora would later learn caught the chains and grinned. "The moon, Sophia, yesterday you wanted Mars." "The moon first, then Mars. Obviously." Sophia's eyes sparkled with the kind of unfiltered joy that seemed to exist only in children who'd never learned to doubt the world. Aurora watched transfixed as Marcos began pushing his daughter in smooth, even arcs. And then, "Hey!" Sophia's voice rang out clear and welcoming. She'd spotted Maya standing motionless 3 feet away. "Do you want to fly through the clouds with us?" Aurora's breath stopped. Maya's head turned. It was the smallest movement, barely perceptible, but it was voluntary. Aurora's fingers dug into the bench's wooden slats. Marcos caught the shift immediately, his hands gentled on the swing chains, his voice dropping to a warm, unhurried register. "The clouds are really good today. See those big puffy ones? Those are cumulus, perfect for flying through." Maya's gaze lifted to the sky. Sophia, bless her, seemed to possess some innate understanding that silence wasn't rejection. "You don't have to say anything. You can just swing if you want. I'll tell you when we're passing through a cloud." She paused, then added with the gravity of someone sharing classified information. "The secret is you have to make the whooshing sound, or the clouds don't open up." Aurora's pulse hammered. Don't push. Don't hope. Don't. Maya took one step toward the empty swing, then another. Marcos met Aurora's eyes across the playground, and something passed between them, a question, a request for permission. Aurora managed the smallest nod, her throat too tight for words. "Perfect," Marcos said easily, as if this were the most natural thing in the world. "Sophia, we've got another cloud pilot. You know the rules, everyone flies at their own speed." He moved to Maya's swing, with the same gentle confidence, waiting until she'd climbed on before asking, "Is it okay if I push you?" Maya's fingers curled around the chains. She dipped her chin once. Aurora's eyes burned. "All right," Marcos began his pushes, feather-light, establishing rhythm without force. "Sophia's going to call out the clouds. You just focus on flying." "First cloud coming up," Sophia announced, her own swing arcing higher. "Big white one, really fluffy. Get ready to whoosh!" The sound Sophia made was pure playfulness, half wind, half wonder, and then so quiet, Aurora almost missed it. Maya's lips parted. Whoosh. The whisper was barely audible, more breath than voice, but it was something. Sound. Intention. Connection. Aurora's hand flew to her mouth. Marcos didn't react, didn't make it significant, just kept the rhythm steady. "Nice flying. There's another one coming, this one's bigger." "Super big," Sophia agreed, her delight infectious. "Okay, ready? Whoosh! Whoosh!" Maya's second attempt was marginally louder, the syllable more formed. Aurora stood without realizing it, her legs shaking. "You're a natural," Marcos said warmly, still pushing in those even, safe strokes. Sophia took 3 tries before she figured out the cloud sound. "You've got it already." Sophia twisted on her swing to beam at Maya. "You're really good. Want to try a rainbow cloud? Those ones need a humming sound instead." Maya's response was a ghost of a nod, but it was there. This time, when Sophia hummed a playful ascending note, Maya's mouth opened, and the faintest hum emerged, tentative, as a butterfly testing new wings. Aurora's vision blurred. 18 months of silence, cracking. Marcos must have sensed her unraveling because he glanced over with a look that said, "I see you, and this is real, and it's okay to feel everything." Then, reaching into his jacket pocket, he pulled out something small and smooth. "Hey, Maya, I found this yesterday. I think it might be magic." He held it out. As the swing slowed, a piece of sea glass, worn smooth by waves, the palest shade of blue-green that caught the sunlight like a tiny prism. Maya's swing drifted to a stop. She stared at the object in Marcos's palm. "It's called a glimmer," he said, his voice taking on the warm cadence of someone sharing a story. "The ocean makes them. They start as broken glass, sharp and dangerous, but the water tumbles them over and over until they're smooth and beautiful. Some people think they amplify sounds, but only the sounds you choose to make. The magic won't work unless you give it permission." Sophia leaned in, stage whispering, "Papa finds them at the beach. He's got like 100, but this one's special. See how it catches the light." Maya's hand extended slowly, palm up. Marcos placed the sea glass in her small hand with the reverence of someone passing a sacred trust. "You don't have to make any sounds right now. You can just hold it. Sometimes the magic needs to warm up to you first." Maya's fingers closed around the glass. She brought it close to her chest, and for a moment her breathing seemed to steady deepen. Aurora wiped her eyes, not caring that her mascara was probably streaking. "Miss," Marcos's voice was gentle as he approached, keeping a respectful distance. "I'm Marcos Alvarez. This is my daughter Sophia. We come here most Saturdays." "Aurora Chen." Her voice came out hoarse. "That's my daughter Maya. She's wonderful," Marcos said simply, and the lack of pity or performative sympathy in his tone was what finally broke Aurora's composure. She hasn't... Aurora's breath hitched. She hasn't made a sound in 18 months. Not since... She couldn't finish, but Marcos's eyes held understanding. Not the kind born of gossip or assumption, but something deeper. Experience, maybe. Loss recognized in another. Sound comes back when it feels safe, he said quietly. Not when we demand it. Not when we schedule it. When it's ready. Are you a therapist? Aurora asked the question, emerging sharper than intended, her boardroom instincts flaring, looking for credentials. Proof authority. Music therapist, actually. I work at the community center on 5th. Marcos's smile was patient, not defensive. But right now I'm just a dad whose daughter really likes making friends. Sophia had climbed off her swing and was now sitting in the grass near Maya, making a daisy chain with complete absorption. Maya, still holding the sea glass, watched from her swing. The glimmer thing, Aurora gestured helplessly. Is that therapeutic technique? It's belief, Marcos replied. Kids respond to permission disguised as magic. The sea glass isn't magic, but believing it might be gives her a reason to try without the pressure of performance. She's not speaking for anyone. She's just testing the glimmer. Aurora's phone buzzed again, board chair Whitmore, and she declined the call with more force than necessary. You're busy. Marcos observed no judgment in it. I'm a CEO. I'm always busy. The admission tasted bitter. 200 employees, 3 product lines, and I can't help my own daughter. Maybe helping looks different than you think. Marcos glanced at Maya, who was now accepting a daisy from Sophia. My late wife used to say that showing up is 90% of healing. The other 10% is waiting. Late wife. The words hung between them, a shared geography of loss. Before Aurora could respond, Maya's voice cut through the afternoon, so soft it was almost subliminal. Mama. Aurora's world stopped. Maya was looking directly at her, the sea glass pressed to her heart lips, barely moving, but forming the word again. Mama. Aurora crossed the space between them in 3 strides, dropping to her knees in the grass, not caring about the damp earth soaking through her slacks. Baby, oh baby, I'm here. Maya leaned forward, and Aurora caught her arms, wrapping around her daughter's small frame, as 18 months of damned grief broke open. She was dimly aware of Marcos ushering Sophia away, giving them space. But all Aurora could focus on was the weight of her daughter in her arms, and the miracle of that single whispered word. When she finally looked up, Marcos and Sophia were at the far end of the playground. Marcos caught her eye and gave a small nod. Take your time, before turning his attention to his daughter's elaborate explanation of the optimal daisy-to-stem ratio. Aurora pulled back just enough to see Maya's face. Can I see the glimmer? Maya opened her palm, revealing the sea glass now warm from her grip. It's beautiful, Aurora whispered. Did it feel magic? The smallest smile ghosted across Maya's lips. She nodded. Aurora's phone buzzed again. This time it was a cascade 6 messages in rapid succession, all marked urgent. Through the haze of the moment, she caught fragments: board emergency session, investor confidence, PR crisis brewing, the CEO part of her brain, the part that had clawed its way to the top of a male-dominated industry that had buried her husband and returned to work 3 weeks later because the company was hemorrhaging. That part screamed at her to respond, to manage, to control. But Maya was here, present, connected. Aurora silenced her phone entirely and slipped it into her bag. Do you want to swing more? She asked Maya. Another nod. This time, Aurora was the one pushing, finding the rhythm Marcos had established, watching her daughter's hair lift with each forward arc. And when Sophia called out, "Another cloud," and Maya whispered, "Whoosh," again, Aurora let herself cry and smile simultaneously. A combination of emotions she'd forgotten was possible. 20 minutes later, as the afternoon sun began its descent, Marcos and Sophia circled back. Sophia was chattering about a community music event the following weekend, something about singing with instruments instead of words. "You could come," Sophia said brightly, looking between Maya and Aurora. "Papa helps kids make sounds without talking. It's really fun." Aurora's instinct was to demur to protect Maya from exposure from expectation. But then she saw her daughter's hand tighten on the sea glass, saw the way Maya's eyes tracked to Marcos with something that might have been hope. "What kind of sounds?" Aurora found herself asking. "All kinds," Marcos replied, his tone carefully neutral, leaving the door open without pushing. "Drums, rain, sticks, ocean drums. Breathing exercises that sound like wind. The goal isn't to make anyone speak, it's just to remember that sound can be safe. Play, not performance." Maya tugged Aurora's sleeve, the first initiated physical contact in months. Aurora looked down. Maya was pointing at Marcos, then at the sea glass, then at her own chest. The message was clear. "Can we go? Can we try? The sessions are Saturdays at 2, Marcos said. "Community center 3rd floor. No pressure, no registration, no commitment. Just space, if you want it." Aurora felt the weight of the decision, how it would look, the time it would take, the board's reaction if they knew their CEO was spending weekends at community therapy instead of strategizing the Q2 launch. Her schedule was already impossible. Her VP of product had sent 3 increasingly frantic emails about the keynote presentation Aurora was supposed to be rehearsing, but Maya was asking. After 18 months of absence, her daughter was expressing want. "We'll be there," Aurora heard herself say. Sophia's cheer was immediate and exuberant. "Yes, Maya, we can be sound partners." Marcos's expression remained warm but professional. "No expectations," he reminded gently. "Some days kids just want to listen. That's fine too." As they exchanged numbers for logistics, Marcos said, in case plans changed, Aurora noticed the way he interacted with Sophia, the patient answering of her endless questions, the gentle correction when she got too loud, the visible pride when she shared her daisy chain with Maya. Single parenting. Aurora recognized the particular exhaustion and fierce love of doing it alone. "Thank you," Aurora said as they prepared to leave, the words inadequate for what had shifted in the last hour. "You don't have to thank me," Marcos replied. "Maya did the work. She decided the clouds were worth the sound." Walking to the car, Maya's hand in hers, Aurora felt the sea glass press against her palm. Maya had insisted Aurora hold it for safekeeping. Her phone remained silenced, the board's crisis spiraling without her intervention for the first time in her tenure. As she buckled Maya into the car seat, her daughter's lips moved again. Whoosh! It was barely audible, but it was there. Aurora kissed her forehead, breathing in the scent of playground and spring and possibility. "Yeah, baby. Whoosh!" Only when they were halfway home did Aurora check her messages. 17 missed calls, 32 texts, 1 voicemail from board chair Catherine Whitmore that opened with, "Aurora, we need to talk about your focus." But beneath that was a single photo message from an unknown number, Marcos. The image showed Sophia and Maya sitting in the grass, the daisy chain between them. Maya's hand clutching the sea glass, the ghost of a smile on her face. The caption read, "First flights are always the bravest, M." Aurora saved the photo, then opened her calendar. The board emergency session was scheduled for Monday at 9. The Q2 keynote rehearsal was Tuesday, department reviews Wednesday through Friday, and there a new entry she added herself, Saturday, 2 p.m. Community Center. Maya's choice. She didn't know yet that this decision would fracture her carefully constructed corporate life. Didn't know that PR chief Mitchell Ramos was already crafting a narrative about the CEO's distracted leadership, or that board chair Whitmore was polling votes for a potential replacement. Didn't know that the simple act of choosing her daughter over a boardroom would become the defining crisis of her career. All Aurora knew, driving through the golden hour with Maya humming in the back seat, was that for the first time in 18 months, the fortress gate had cracked open, and she would do whatever it took to keep it that way. That Monday morning, Aurora walked into the glass tower headquarters with Maya's sea glass tucked in her blazer pocket, a talisman she couldn't quite explain. The boardroom was already full when she arrived, 23 faces turning toward her with varying degrees of impatience. Catherine Whitmore sat at the head of the table, silver hair pulled back in a severe knot, reading glasses perched on her nose like weapons. "Nice of you to join us, Aurora." "My apologies. We've been waiting 17 minutes. Whitmore's tone could have frozen steel. "Mitchell, proceed with the PR brief." Mitchell Ramos stood tablet in hand, his usually smooth expression tight with barely concealed frustration. He was 36, ambitious, and convinced Aurora's grief had made her soft. "Our internal polling shows investor confidence dropping 3 points since the Q1 earnings call. The prevailing narrative is that leadership seems distracted." Aurora's fingers found the sea glass. "Distracted how? There are concerns about your focus." Mitchell's words were carefully chosen, but his meaning was blade sharp. "The family tech product launch is 8 weeks out. We need full commitment from the top." "You have it," Aurora replied evenly. "Do we?" Whitmore interjected. "Because I've received reports that you've been unreachable for significant periods. Declined calls during critical windows." Saturday afternoon flashed through Aurora's mind. Maya's whispered whoosh, the playground's dappled sunlight, the first sound in 18 months. "I had a family matter." "You always have family matters, Aurora." Whitmore removed her glasses with deliberate slowness. "The board sympathizes with your loss. We do. But this company has 200 employees whose livelihoods depend on strong leadership. Can you provide that, or do we need to discuss alternative arrangements?" The threat landed like a physical blow. Aurora had built this company from a 12-person startup. She'd negotiated the Series B funding while 6 months pregnant. She'd pitched to venture capitalists who called her sweetheart and still walked away with term sheets. And now they were questioning her commitment because she'd chosen one afternoon with her daughter. "The keynote presentation is 90% complete," Aurora said, her voice harder now. "Product development is on schedule. Our beta testers are reporting unprecedented engagement scores. I'm not sure what alternative arrangements you're imagining, Catherine, but I suggest we table that discussion until there's actual cause for concern." Mitchell cleared his throat. "There's one more thing. A journalist reached out asking about your daughter's condition. Apparently there was an incident at Crescent Park that got some attention." Aurora's blood ran cold. "What kind of attention?" "Someone filmed a snippet audio, only no faces. A child making sounds for the first time. It's been shared about 40,000 times with captions like, This is what healing sounds like. Mitchell swiped his tablet. The problem is some local parenting bloggers are connecting dots. Your husband's death was public record. Maya's name came up in the obituary. People are starting to ask if the CEO of a family tech company can't even help her own family. The sea glass seemed to burn against Aurora's palm. That was a private moment. In a public park, Mitchell countered. And while I absolutely respect your privacy, Aurora, we need to get ahead of this. I'm proposing a carefully crafted response, something about resilience, about understanding family challenges firsthand, positioning it as why you're uniquely qualified to lead the Connex launch. No, the word came out flat, absolute. Aurora. I said no, Mitchell. My daughter is not a PR opportunity. Whitmore's expression was unreadable. Then you need to make a choice. Either Maya becomes part of your professional narrative in a way we can control, or you separate your personal life from this company's image entirely. Which means being fully present here, not disappearing for family matters during business hours. The ultimatum hung in the air like smoke. Aurora stood gathering her materials with shaking hands. I'll have the revised keynote on your desks by Thursday. This meeting is adjourned. She made it to her office before the trembling became visible. Through the floor-to-ceiling windows, the city sprawled below a kingdom she'd fought to rule, now holding her crown hostage. Her phone buzzed. A text from Marcos. Just confirming still good for Saturday. No pressure either way. Aurora stared at the message, then at her calendar, then at the framed photo on her desk. David, Maya, and herself at Maya's 5th birthday party before the world had shattered. David's arm around her shoulders, both of them laughing at something Maya had said. She typed back, "We'll be there." Saturday arrived, wrapped in warm sunshine and Aurora's mounting anxiety. The community center was a converted warehouse on 5th Street, all exposed brick and mismatched furniture that somehow felt more welcoming than her corporate headquarters' designer minimalism. Sophia met them at the 3rd-floor entrance, practically vibrating with excitement. "Maya, you came. Papa set up the ocean drum just for you." Marcos appeared behind his daughter, wearing the same gentle smile that had disarmed Aurora at the playground. "Hey, come on in. No agenda today, just seeing what sounds feel good." The therapy room was smaller than Aurora expected, maybe 20 by 20 feet, with foam mats covering the floor and instruments clustered in stations around the perimeter. A handful of other children were already there with their parents engaged in various activities. One boy was methodically striking a rain stick. A girl was pressing keys on a small keyboard with intense concentration. "This is Marco." Marcos introduced a teaching assistant, a college-aged kid with kind eyes and colorful tattoos. "He helps with the sessions. Marco, this is Aurora and Maya." "Welcome," Marco said warmly. "We're really informal here. Kids lead, adults follow." Maya's hand tightened in Aurora's grip as she surveyed the room. Aurora felt her daughter's old patterns emerging, the retreat, the shutdown. But then Sophia was there, gently taking Maya's other hand. "Want to see the instruments? You don't have to touch them. We can just look." And somehow, impossibly, Maya let herself be led across the room. Aurora moved to follow, but Marcos touched her elbow lightly. Parents usually observe from the seating area. It gives kids space to explore without performance pressure. "I should stay close. I know it's hard." Marcos's voice was understanding, not dismissive. "But Maya's not in danger here. And sometimes our presence, even with the best intentions, becomes the thing they're trying to please, rather than the thing they're trying to discover." Aurora watched Maya and Sophia crouch beside a large flat drum painted with swirling blues and greens. Sophia was demonstrating how tilting it created a wave sound. Maya's face was intent, absorbed. "She's okay," Marcos murmured. "I promise you she's okay." Aurora forced herself to sit in one of the observation chairs, every instinct screaming to intervene, to protect, to control. Beside her, another mother gave a knowing smile. "First time, is it that obvious? You're gripping that chair like it might float away." The woman extended her hand. "Diana, that's my son Timothy on the rain stick. He didn't speak for 2 years after his father deployed and didn't come back." "I'm sorry," Aurora said reflexively. "Don't be. Look at him now." Diana nodded toward Timothy, who was now laughing at something Marco had said the rain stick forgotten. "Marcos has a gift. He doesn't push, he just creates permission." Across the room, Maya was touching the ocean drum, now her fingers barely grazing the surface. Sophia was lying on her stomach, watching the beads inside shift and swirl. When Maya tilted the drum slightly, and the wave sound emerged, her eyes widened. Marcos crouched beside them, his voice carrying just enough for Aurora to hear. "That sound is the ocean saying hello. Want to hear what it sounds like when you answer back?" He demonstrated a gentle humming that matched the drum's rhythm. Sophia immediately joined in her hum, louder, more confident. Maya's lips parted. No sound emerged, but the intention was there. "Perfect," Marcos said. "Sometimes listening is the answer. The ocean appreciates good listeners." Over the next 40 minutes, Aurora watched her daughter move through stations with Sophia as her guide. They tried finger cymbals that chimed like bells, a tube drum that produced deep resonant notes, a set of chimes that tinkled when touched. At each station, Marcos or Marco would offer gentle context, not instructions, but invitations. "This instrument likes whispers. This one responds to breath. This one works best if you hum while you touch it." Maya didn't produce sound at every station, but she was engaged, present in a way Aurora hadn't seen since before the accident. And then at the station with a large frame drum, something shifted. Marco was showing Maya how the drum responded to different touches, fingers versus palms, center versus edge. Sophia was experimenting enthusiastically, producing a cacophony of beats. "Try just your heartbeat," Marco suggested. "Put your hand on your chest, feel the rhythm, then tap that rhythm on the drum." Sophia tried first her tapping enthusiastic, if somewhat erratic. "Your turn, Maya." Maya placed her palm over her heart. Aurora could see her concentrating feeling. Then slowly she moved that same hand to the drum's surface. Thump, thump, thump. 3 beats, steady and clear, her heartbeat translated to sound. Aurora's breath caught. Marcos appeared beside Maya, his own hand on his chest. "That's beautiful. That's your rhythm. Want to try adding a hum to it?" Maya's third heartbeat morphed the hum, emerging soft, but sustained 3 full seconds of tone. "Yes," Sophia cheered. "You're doing it." And Maya smiled. Actually smiled, the expression transforming her solemn face. Aurora was crying again, silent tears streaming down her face. Diana squeezed her shoulder. "See permission." The session ended with a closing circle where Marcos led a simple breathing exercise, everyone inhaling together, exhaling together, creating a collective rhythm. Maya participated, her breath syncing with the groups. Walking to the car afterward, Sophia chattering about next week's session, Aurora felt something loosening in her chest. Hope, maybe. or just the relief of watching her daughter be a child again, if only for an hour. "Thank you," she told Marcos as they lingered in the parking lot. "I don't know how to—" "You don't have to thank me," he interrupted gently. "This is what I do, and Maya's doing the work, not me." Still, Aurora hesitated, then asked the question that had been building all week. "You said your wife. You're doing this alone too?" Marcos's expression clouded briefly. 3 years now. Car accident, same as Maya's father. Sophia was 4. God, I'm sorry. So am I. He glanced at Sophia, who was teaching Maya some kind of hand-clapping game. But kids are resilient if we give them space to be. They teach us how to survive if we're paying attention. Aurora wanted to ask more how he managed the single parenting, whether the grief ever lessened, whether he'd ever felt like he was failing at everything simultaneously, but her phone erupted with an incoming call. Mitchell Ramos. Again. She declined it. "Work?" Marcos asked. "Always." Aurora's smile was bitter. "Apparently I'm distracted." "Are you?" The question was genuine, not accusatory, which somehow made it harder to answer. "I don't know," Aurora admitted. "I used to think I could compartmentalize work here, grief here, parenting here, all in their separate boxes. But Maya's healing doesn't fit into scheduled slots, and my board doesn't care about that." Marcos was quiet for a moment. "My wife used to say that showing up is the whole job. Everything else is just logistics. What if showing up for one thing means failing at another? Then you decide which failure you can live with." The words settled into Aurora's bones as she drove home, Maya drowsing in the back seat with the sea glass clutched in her hand. By the time they reached their brownstone in Pacific Heights, Aurora had made a decision. She would finish the keynote, crush the product launch, prove to the board that she could manage both, that being a mother made her a better CEO, not a compromised one. It was a beautiful, naive plan that lasted exactly 72 hours. Wednesday afternoon, Aurora was in back-to-back product reviews when her assistant Keisha interrupted, her expression strained. "There's someone here to see you. Dr. Patricia Hendricks. She says it's about Maya." Aurora's stomach dropped. "I don't know a Dr. Hendricks." "She's a pediatric speech pathologist. Apparently Mitchell scheduled a consultation." The rage was instant and white-hot. He did what Dr. Patricia Hendricks was everything Aurora had learned to distrust in specialists' perfectly coiffed, expensive suit. The kind of confidence that came from never being questioned. She sat in Aurora's office like she belonged there, a leather portfolio balanced on her knees. "Mrs. Chen, I understand this is unexpected. Mitchell Ramos had no authority to schedule this." Aurora interrupted, her voice sharp enough to cut glass. "My daughter's care is not a corporate matter." "Of course not, but Mr. Ramos mentioned you'd been exploring alternative therapeutic approaches, community programs." Hendricks's tone made it clear what she thought of that. "I specialize in selective mutism following trauma, and I have a 93% success rate in restoring verbal communication within 6 months. Maya's been in therapy for over a year. Traditional talk therapy, yes, but selective mutism requires a more structured approach. Systematic desensitization, graduated exposure hierarchies, positive reinforcement protocols." Hendricks pulled out a tablet, swiping to a presentation. "I've developed a proprietary method that combines behavioral intervention with, she's 7 years old, which makes early intervention crucial. The longer selective mutism persists, the more entrenched it becomes." Hendricks leaned forward, her expression sympathetic in that practiced way therapists had. "Mrs. Chen, Aurora, I know you're doing your best, but community music therapy, while well-intentioned, isn't evidence-based. What Maya needs is clinical precision." Aurora thought of Maya's smile at the drum circle, the heartbeat taps, the 3-second hum. What exactly is your method? We start with baseline exercises prompting verbal responses in controlled settings with clear reward structures. Brief utterances at first building to full sentences. The key is consistency and expectation. Children need to understand that silence isn't an option. Everything in Aurora recoiled. That sounds like forcing her to speak. It's creating conditions where speaking becomes the path of least resistance. Think of it as removing barriers. Hendricks smiled, the expression not reaching her eyes. I understand this feels harsh, but prolonged accommodation of the mutism can actually reinforce it. Maya needs to learn that her voice is safe to use. She's learning that now. Through play and instruments. That's lovely for socialization, but it's not addressing the core issue. Maya needs to speak words, Aurora. Full verbal communication. That's the goal, isn't it? Aurora's phone buzzed with a text from Marcos. Maya did great today. Sophia keeps asking when she can come back. Hope you're well. The contrast was stark, Marcos's gentle patience versus Hendrix's clinical insistence. I need to think about this, Aurora said. Of course, but I should mention my schedule fills quickly. I have an opening this Friday at 4, which would give us 2 weeks of intensive work before your product launch. Mr. Ramos thought the timing might be helpful. The pieces clicked into place with sickening clarity. Mitchell wasn't trying to help Maya. He was trying to fix Aurora's distraction before the launch to create a tidy narrative where the CEO conquered both her product and her daughter's silence through sheer force of will. Thank you for coming, Dr. Hendricks. I'll be in touch. The woman's smile tightened. I hope you will. The window for intervention is closing, Aurora. Every day Maya remains silent is a day she's learning that silence works. After Hendricks left, Aurora sat in her office as the afternoon light faded the city's rush hour building below. Her phone showed 3 missed calls from Catherine Whitmore, 2 from Mitchell, and 1 text from Marcos with a photo, Maya and Sophia making shadow puppets on a wall, both girls laughing. The Thursday morning keynote rehearsal was a disaster Aurora should have seen coming. She'd worked until 3 a.m. perfecting the slides, integrating user testimonials, refining the Connex product narrative until it sang. But standing in the empty auditorium with the marketing team watching, her tongue felt thick, her thoughts scattered. And the Connex platform represents... Aurora stopped losing her place in her notes. It represents our commitment to family connectivity, Mitchell supplied from the 3rd row, his voice tight with frustration. Right, family connectivity through intuitive design. Aurora tried to find her rhythm again. We believe that technology should bring people together, not... Maya's face flashed in her mind, silent at the dinner table last night, pushing food around her plate. Aurora had wanted to tell her about Dr. Hendricks to ask what Maya wanted, but the words had stuck. Aurora. Mitchell's voice cut through. You've lost the thread again. I'm sorry. Can we take 5? In the bathroom? Aurora splashed cold water on her face and stared at her reflection. When had the circles under her eyes become permanent? When had the lines around her mouth deepened into trenches? Her phone buzzed. Catherine Whitmore. We need to talk. My office 4 p.m. The meeting was worse than Aurora anticipated. Whitmore sat behind her mahogany desk, fingers steepled, while Mitchell stood by the window like a prosecuting attorney preparing his case. The keynote rehearsal was unacceptable, Whitmore began without preamble. You were unprepared, unfocused, and frankly unprofessional. I had a late night finishing the slides. The slides are fine, Aurora. You're the problem. Whitmore's eyes were hard. I've been on this board for 9 years. I've watched you build this company from nothing. But since David died, you've been running on fumes and it's finally caught up with you. I'm managing. Are you? Mitchell interjected. Because from where I'm sitting, you're choosing a community music program over critical business functions. You're declining essential calls. You're using your daughter's condition as a shield against accountability. Aurora's hands clenched. Don't you dare, Mitchell. Whitmore's voice was sharp. That's enough. She turned back to Aurora. Here's the situation. The board is divided on your continued leadership. Half think you need a leave of absence. Half think you need to be replaced entirely. I'm the only thing standing between you and a vote. The floor seemed to tilt beneath Aurora's feet. I've bought you 2 weeks, Whitmore continued. Until the Connex launch. Nail that presentation, show me the Aurora Chen who convinced me to invest 6 years ago, and I'll shut down the replacement talk. But if you stumble, if you show even a hint of the distraction we saw today, I'm calling the vote. Do you understand? Aurora nodded, her throat too tight for words. And Aurora. Whitmore's expression softened fractionally. Get your daughter real help. The kind with credentials and proven results. I'm not heartless, I want Maya to heal. But she needs clinical intervention, not feel-good community programs. Dr. Hendricks has an excellent reputation. Use her. Walking to her car an hour later, Aurora felt the walls closing in from every direction. The board wanted clinical precision. Maya needed gentle permission. The launch required her full focus. Her daughter needed her present. And somehow Aurora was supposed to choose. Friday at 4 p.m., she found herself in Dr. Hendricks's immaculate office, with Maya sitting rigidly in the chair beside her. The room was all white walls and credentials, framed degrees covering every surface like armor. Maya, I'm Dr. Hendricks. I'm here to help you find your voice. Hendricks's smile was practiced professional. We're going to do some exercises together. Your mom is going to wait outside. Aurora's instincts screamed. I'd prefer to stay. Parental presence can actually inhibit progress. Children perform for their parents rather than engaging authentically with the work. Hendricks was already standing, gesturing toward the door. I promise she's in good hands. Maya's fingers found Aurora's wrist, squeezing hard. Maybe we should ease into this, Aurora suggested. Mrs. Chen, if you're going to question my methods at every turn, this won't work. I need you to trust the process. Hendricks's tone had shifted, losing its warmth. Maya needs consistency and clear expectations. Hovering doesn't help. Aurora looked at her daughter, at the fear flickering in those dark eyes, at the way Maya's breathing had gone shallow and rapid. Every cell in Aurora's body said no. But Whitmore's words echoed, get your daughter real help, the kind with credentials. Okay, Aurora heard herself say. I'll be right outside. Maya's grip tightened, panic flashing across her face. It's okay, baby. It's just for a little while. Aurora kissed her daughter's forehead, hating herself. Dr. Hendricks is going to help. In the waiting room, Aurora lasted exactly 12 minutes before Maya's scream shattered the air. She was through the office door before conscious thought finding Maya pressed into the corner, Hendricks standing over her with a tablet showing a picture of a cat. She just needs to say the word cat, Hendricks explained calmly. We've been at this for 10 minutes. She knows the word. She's choosing not to say it. She's terrified, Aurora shot back, scooping Maya into her arms. Her daughter was shaking, silent sobs racking her small body. And you're reinforcing the avoidance behavior, Hendricks countered. This is exactly why I asked you to wait outside. Maya has learned that if she resists long enough, people give in. That's not healing, that's manipulation. She's 7. And she's old enough to understand that communication is not optional. Hendricks set down her tablet with deliberate precision. Mrs. Chen, I've worked with dozens of selectively mute children. The ones who recover are the ones whose parents commit to the discomfort of the process. If you can't handle watching her struggle, we're wasting each other's time. Aurora held Maya tighter, feeling her daughter's heartbeat hammering against her chest. We're done here. That's your choice. But know that you're choosing your comfort over your daughter's recovery. In 6 months, when Maya still isn't speaking, you'll remember this moment. The drive home was silent, except for Maya's gradually slowing breaths. Aurora kept one hand on her daughter's knee, anchoring her the other on the steering wheel as rage and shame warred in her chest. She'd let Mitchell and Whitmore and her own desperation convince her to try something that every instinct had rejected. She'd traded Maya's safety for professional credibility, and her daughter had paid the price. At a red light, Aurora pulled out her phone and texted Marcos. "Is tomorrow's session still available?" His response came immediately. "Always. Everything okay?" Aurora looked at Maya in the rearview mirror, clutching the sea glass. Eyes red-rimmed, but no longer panicked. "We tried something that didn't work. Need to get back to what does. No judgment here. See you tomorrow at 2. That night, after Maya finally fell asleep, Aurora sat in her home office and did something she hadn't allowed herself in 18 months. She let herself completely fall apart, great gasping sobs that shook her whole body, grief and rage and terror pouring out until she was empty. Then she pulled herself together and opened her laptop. The Connex keynote presentation stared back at her 93 slides of polished corporate narrative about family connection and intuitive design. Aurora looked at it with fresh eyes, seeing it for what it was: hollow, beautiful and empty. She deleted the entire thing and started over. By 3 a.m., she had something new, something true. Saturday's session at the community center felt like coming home after being lost. Sophia tackled Maya with a hug the moment they arrived, chattering about a new instrument Marcos had brought, a kalimba, that made soft musical tones when you plucked its metal tines. Marcos caught Aurora's eye, a silent question in his expression. "Bad week," Aurora said simply. "Want to talk about it?" And somehow Aurora found herself in the parent observation area, telling Marcos everything. Hendrix's clinical demands, Maya's scream, Whitmore's ultimatum, the board's threat, all of it spilling out in a rushed, messy confession. Marcos listened without interrupting, his expression grave. "I tried to force it," Aurora finished, her voice breaking. "I let them convince me that your way wasn't enough, and I traumatized my daughter." "Hey." Marcos's hand found hers, a brief grounding touch. "You recognized it wasn't working, and you stopped. That's what matters. Maya's okay." "Is she?" They both looked across the room where Maya and Sophia were examining the kalimba, Sophia demonstrating different plucking patterns, Maya watching with cautious interest. "She's here," Marcos said. "She came back. That's resilience." "I don't know how to do this," Aurora whispered. "How to be what she needs, and what my company demands. They're pulling me in opposite directions, and I'm going to fail at both." "What does Maya need? Permission to heal at her own pace." "And what does your company need?" Aurora thought about the Connex launch, about Whitmore's deadline, about Mitchell's PR machinations. "My company needs me to perform confidence I don't feel and sell a product about family connection, while my own family is broken." "That sounds exhausting." "It is." Marcos was quiet for a long moment. "Can I tell you something? When Elena died, my wife, I tried to keep working full-time. I was teaching music at 3 different schools, running private therapy sessions, trying to prove I could handle it all. And I was drowning. Sophia was acting out, I was barely sleeping, everything felt impossible. What changed? I quit 2 of the schools, cut my client load in half, chose presence over prestige. He smiled a little sad. It meant less money, a smaller apartment, admitting I couldn't do it all. But Sophia got her dad back. And I got to actually be a father instead of just surviving. I can't just quit my company. I'm not saying you should. I'm saying... He paused, choosing his words carefully. Sometimes the thing we think will destroy us is actually the thing that saves us, if we're brave enough to let go. Across the room, Maya plucked a single kalimba tine. The note hung in the air, clear and pure. Then she plucked another. And another. A simple melody emerged, tentative, but intentional. Sophia gasped with delight. "Maya, that's beautiful. Keep going." And Maya did. 5 notes, then 6, building a pattern that sounded almost like a lullaby. Aurora stood without realizing it, her heart in her throat. Marcos was beside her, his voice soft with wonder. "She's composing. That's not imitation, that's creation. That's her voice, just in a different language." Maya looked up, found Aurora's eyes across the room, and smiled. Then she returned to the kalimba, her melody building, finding its rhythm. Aurora pulled out her phone and hit record, capturing 30 seconds of her daughter's first composition. The notes were simple, imperfect, absolutely beautiful. On Monday, she would face the board. On Tuesday, she would either nail the keynote or lose her company. But right now, in this moment, Aurora understood what Marcos had been trying to tell her. The fortress gate wasn't just cracking, it was opening. And whatever came next, whatever she had to sacrifice to keep it that way, would be worth it. I'll explore Marcos's hidden narrative, revealing the deep personal stakes behind his passionate advocacy. His own silenced history emerges. A childhood where his unique communication was misunderstood, where music became his first true language of expression. The school's initial resistance triggers memories of his own marginalization, transforming this moment from a simple recital challenge into a profound redemption arc. The video of Maya's kalimba melody played on loop in Aurora's mind all through Sunday, a counterpoint to the dread building in her chest about Monday's board meeting. She'd rewritten the entire keynote presentation in a fever of inspiration at 3 a.m., but now, in the harsh light of day, she questioned everything. The new version was raw, personal, completely unlike anything she'd presented before. It could save her career or end it. Maya seemed lighter that Sunday, humming fragments of her kalimba tune while drawing at the kitchen table. Aurora watched her daughter's small hands moving across the paper she was sketching the instruments from Marcos's sessions, each one labeled in careful letters, "Drum Chimes Ocean." "Can we go back next Saturday?" Maya's voice startled Aurora so badly she nearly dropped her coffee mug. The question was barely audible, more breath than sound, but it was there. Words. Actual words. Aurora knelt beside Maya's chair, keeping her movements slow, careful not to spook this fragile moment. "Yes, baby. Absolutely yes." Maya's smile was small, but real. "Sophia said we could make weather sounds. Like rain." "That sounds perfect." And Marcos said, Maya paused, her confidence flickering. She touched the sea glass sitting next to her drawing. "He said sound is mine. I get to choose." Aurora's throat tightened. "That's right. It's always your choice." That night, after Maya fell asleep clutching a drawing of the kalimba, Aurora sat in her home office and made a decision that felt simultaneously terrifying and inevitable. She opened her laptop and typed an email to Catherine Whitmore. "Catherine, the keynote presentation is ready, but I need you to understand something before Monday's meeting. Maya spoke today. 3 sentences. the first words she's chosen to share in 18 months. This happened because I stopped trying to force her healing into a schedule that suited my career and started following her timeline instead. I'm asking the board to extend the same trust to me. See you Monday. Aurora. She hit send before she could second-guess herself. Whitmore's response came at 6 a.m. Monday morning, curt and ominous. We'll discuss. Boardroom. 9 a.m. sharp. The glass tower felt different that morning, or maybe Aurora felt different walking into it. She wore her power suit like armor charcoal gray, perfectly tailored, but the sea glass sat in her pocket, a secret talisman against the corporate machinery about to grind her down. The boardroom was full when she arrived. 23 faces, most of them carefully neutral, a few openly hostile. Mitchell Ramos sat near the front, his expression unreadable. Catherine Whitmore occupied her usual position at the head of the table, reading glasses perched like a judge's gavel. Aurora. Whitmore's greeting was clipped. I received your email. It was illuminating. I wanted to be transparent about where my head is. Your head. A voice from the left side of the table. Richard Torres, the CFO, a man who'd questioned Aurora's leadership since David's funeral. We need your head in quarterly projections, not in personal anecdotes about your daughter's therapy sessions. Aurora felt the familiar rage building, but she forced it down, kept her voice level. The Connex product is about family connectivity. You don't think it's relevant that I understand that mission from the inside. We think it's relevant that you deliver results, Torres shot back. The beta metrics are promising, but the market window is closing. We need flawless execution, and frankly, you've been anything but flawless lately. Mitchell cleared his throat. If I may, I've been tracking social media sentiment around the company. There's been some chatter. Aurora's stomach dropped. What kind of chatter? He pulled up his tablet, projecting onto the screen behind Whitmore. The first image was a screenshot from a parenting blog. Tech CEO can't connect with her own kid. How's she going to help your family? The second was worse. Aurora Chen's daughter, the product she can't fix. These posts have been gaining traction over the past week. Mitchell explained, his tone carefully neutral. The narrative is that you're using Connex to compensate for personal failures. It's not fair, but it's damaging. Who's spreading this? Aurora's voice was dangerously quiet. Does it matter? Whitmore interjected. The perception is out there. We need to address it, or it will torpedo the launch. Aurora scanned the room, seeing the calculation in their faces. They were looking for an excuse to remove her, and the internet had just handed them one gift wrapped. I have a proposal, came a smooth voice from the back of the room. Derek Vaughn stood, his silver suit immaculate, his smile practiced. He ran Next Gen Solutions, a competing firm that had been circling Aurora's company for years, like a well-dressed shark. May I? Whitmore frowned. Derek, you're here as an observer, not a... Hear me out, Catherine. This could benefit everyone. Vaughn moved to the front of the room with the confidence of someone who'd already won. NextGen has been watching Aurora's company with great interest. The Connex platform has enormous potential. What it needs is operational stability and public relations expertise. Aurora's hands clenched beneath the table. Get to the point. A strategic partnership. NextGen provides capital PR infrastructure and executive support. Aurora stays on as Chief Innovation Officer, still leading product development, but freed from the operational burden that's clearly overwhelming her right now. The room went utterly silent. You want me to give up my CEO position, Aurora said flatly. I want to offer you a lifeline. Vaughn Whitmore's smile didn't waver. Look, Aurora, everyone in this room respects what you've built, but they also see you drowning. This isn't about competence, it's about capacity. Let us handle the business machinery while you focus on what you do best, innovation, and frankly, your daughter. The condescension in his voice was wrapped in so much false compassion that Aurora wanted to throw something. How generous, she managed her voice ice. And what percentage of my company does this partnership require? Controlling interest, 51%. But you'd retain significant equity and full creative control over no. The word came out sharp and absolute. Vaughn's expression flickered with irritation before smoothing back into sympathy. Aurora, be realistic. Your board is losing confidence. Your public image is compromised. Your personal life is in chaos. This offer gives you a graceful exit while protecting your employees and shareholders. I said no. Catherine talked some sense into her. But Whitmore was studying Aurora with an unreadable expression. The floor is yours, Aurora. Make your case. Aurora stood, her heart hammering, but her hands steady. She walked to the front of the room, connected her laptop to the projector, and pulled up her revised presentation. The first slide was just 6 words: what if we're asking the wrong question? For the past 3 months, Aurora began her voice finding strength. We've been positioning Connex as a solution to family disconnection. Better interfaces, smarter algorithms, more intuitive design, all focused on the question, how do we make people connect better? She advanced to the next slide. A photo of Maya at the playground, face turned away from the camera, shoulders hunched. This is my daughter 18 months ago. The day after her father died, she stopped speaking. And I, being the problem solver, I am immediately started asking, how do I fix this? How do I make her speak? What's the fastest, most efficient path to normal? The room was completely still. I hired specialists. I researched interventions. I tried everything I could control. Aurora's voice cracked slightly. And nothing worked, because I was asking the wrong question. She clicked to the next slide, Maya at the community center, hands on the ocean drum, the beginning of a smile on her face. The right question isn't, how do I make her speak? It's, how do I make it safe for her to choose to speak? Aurora met Whitmore's eyes. That shift from force to permission, from my timeline to hers, that's when everything changed. The next slides showed user research Aurora had buried herself in over the weekend, testimonials from Connex beta testers that she'd never really read before. One jumped out, this app doesn't force connection, it creates space for it. That's the difference. Connex isn't about making families communicate more, Aurora continued, feeling the truth of it as she spoke. It's about making it safer to communicate honestly. That's what the market actually needs, not another productivity tool, a permission structure. She could see some board members leaning forward now, engaged despite themselves. The social media narrative that Mitchell showed you. It's not wrong. I couldn't connect with my own daughter using force and expertise and money. But I am connecting with her now using the principles that should be driving this product safety choice. Patience, trust. Richard Torres raised his hand. That's a nice personal story, Aurora, but how does it translate to market strategy? I'm glad you asked. Aurora clicked to her market analysis data she'd compiled, showing the gap between family communication apps and what users actually wanted. Every competitor is selling efficiency. We're going to sell safety. That's the blue ocean. She spent the next 20 minutes walking through her revised strategy, watching the room's energy shift. Not everyone was convinced. Torres kept shaking his head, and a few others looked skeptical. But Whitmore's expression had shifted from skeptical to thoughtful. When Aurora finished, the room erupted in questions. She fielded them as best she could, feeling her confidence build with each answer. This was the right approach. She knew it in her bones. Finally, Whitmore raised her hand for silence. "Thank you, Aurora. We'll take a short recess to discuss. Please wait outside." In the hallway, Aurora's hands shook as adrenaline drained from her system. Mitchell appeared beside her, his expression conflicted. "That was either brilliant or career suicide," he said quietly. "I honestly can't tell which. Welcome to my life. For what it's worth." He hesitated. "I was wrong. About the clinical therapy push. I thought I was helping, but I didn't understand what Maya actually needed. I'm sorry." Aurora studied him, seeing genuine regret. "You're forgiven. But don't ever schedule something for my daughter without asking me first." Noted. 20 minutes later, the boardroom doors opened. Whitmore gestured Aurora back inside. "We've taken a preliminary vote," Whitmore began without preamble. "The board has decided to table Mr. Vaughn's proposal and give you until the Connex launch to prove your revised strategy. You have 2 weeks, Aurora. The keynote presentation needs to be flawless, the product needs to perform, and you need to demonstrate that you can manage both your company and your personal life without sacrificing either." It wasn't a full endorsement, but it was breathing room. "Thank you, Catherine." "Don't thank me yet. If anything goes wrong, anything at all, we're calling an emergency vote. Understood?" Aurora nodded. As the board filed out, Derek Vaughn paused beside Aurora. "This isn't over. When you crash and burn, and you will, I'll still be here with the same offer, except the terms will be worse." "I'll keep that in mind," Aurora replied coldly. That afternoon, still buzzed with victory and terror, Aurora got an email that made her blood run cold. It was from Willow Creek Elementary Maya's school. "Dear Mrs. Chen, we're reaching out regarding the upcoming spring music recital on May 15th. Given Maya's communication challenges, we wanted to discuss appropriate participation options. Perhaps she could help with stage setup. Rather than performing, we're happy to accommodate her needs. Principal Henderson." The careful phrasing couldn't disguise the message they were sidelining Maya before she could embarrass them. Aurora was drafting a furious response when her phone rang. Marcos. "Hey," his voice was warm. "Just wanted to check in after Maya's big speaking day yesterday. How's she doing?" "She's good. Great, actually." Aurora's anger deflated slightly. "But her school just sent an email basically saying they don't want her in the music recital." Silence on the line. Then, "What's the recital?" "All the second graders performed together. Sang some instrumental pieces. It's in 3 weeks." Aurora pulled up the email again, rereading it with fresh fury. They're offering her stage crew as an accommodation, like she's not capable of participating. Is she interested in performing? The question stopped Aurora short. She'd been so focused on fighting the school's exclusion that she hadn't actually asked Maya what she wanted. "I don't know," she admitted. "Maybe start there," Marcos suggested gently. "And if she is interested, I might have some ideas. We've been working on breath tones and rhythmic patterns. Those could translate to performance if she wants them to." "The school won't go for it. They want traditional singing." "Then maybe it's time to expand their definition of music." That evening, Aurora sat with Maya at the kitchen table, the school's email open on her laptop. "Your school is having a spring recital," Aurora began carefully. "Do you want to be in it?" Maya's eyes widened. She nodded immediately. "They suggested you could help with stage setup instead of performing. How do you feel about that?" Maya's expression crumbled. Her hand found the sea glass, gripping it tight. She shook her head, eyes filling with tears. "Hey, It's okay. Aurora pulled her daughter close. If you want to perform, you're going to perform. We'll figure out how. But I can't. Maya's whisper was barely audible. I can't sing words. Everyone else will sing words. Who says you have to sing words? Marcos told me you're amazing at breath tones and rhythm. That's music, too. Maya looked up, hope flickering in her expression. Let me talk to your music teacher, okay? We'll make this work. The next morning, Aurora walked into Willow Creek Elementary with the determination of someone who'd just survived a board coup and wasn't about to be defeated by an elementary school administrator. Principal Henderson's office was decorated with motivational posters about growth mindsets and believing in yourself. The irony wasn't lost on Aurora. Mrs. Chen, thank you for coming in. Henderson was a thin woman in her 50s, with the practiced smile of someone who'd perfected saying no nicely. I assume you got my email about the recital. I did, and I'm here to tell you Maya wants to perform, and she's going to perform. Henderson's smile tightened. I understand your desire to include Maya, but we have to think about what's best for all the children. The recital is already choreographed. The songs are learned. Adding a nonverbal participant at this stage would require significant restructuring. Then restructure. Mrs. Chen. Maya has been working with a certified music therapist. She's developing her own musical language, breath tones, rhythmic patterns, instrumental composition. That's not less than traditional singing. It's different and honestly probably more interesting. I'm sure it's lovely for therapy, but a public performance requires a certain level of, say it. Aurora interrupted, her voice hard. A certain level of what normal typical say what you actually mean. Henderson had the grace to look uncomfortable. I'm simply concerned about Maya's comfort. Being on stage, surrounded by children singing when she can't, when she chooses not to participate in the same way, it could be traumatic for her. Or it could be empowering. But you're not giving her the chance to find out. I'll need to discuss this with our music teacher, Ms. Patterson. She's the one who would have to redesign the program. Then let's discuss it with her, now. 10 minutes later, Aurora sat in the music room with Henderson and Emily Patterson, a young teacher with paint-stained fingers and an expression caught between sympathy and panic. I want Maya to be included, Patterson said immediately. I really do. But Mrs. Chen, the recital is 3 weeks away. The other children have been rehearsing for 2 months. I don't know how to integrate a completely different performance style at this point. What if you didn't integrate it? Aurora pulled out her phone, opening the video of Maya's kalimba composition. What if you featured it a solo moment where Maya plays and makes her sounds and the other children provide backup? She played the video. Maya's simple melody filled the room, halting at first, then gaining confidence, each note chosen with clear intention. Patterson's expression shifted her musician's ear, catching what others might miss. That's actually beautiful. She's got natural phrasing. She's been working with Marcos Alvarez at the 5th Street Community Center. He specializes in music therapy for selective mutism. I know Marcos. Patterson's face lit up. We went to Berkeley together. He's incredible. She listened to the video again, her fingers tapping rhythm against her desk. This could work. If Marcos thinks she's ready for performance pressure, we could score a piece around breath tones and percussion. Henderson cleared her throat. Emily, I'm not sure. Principal Henderson, with respect. This is a music decision. Patterson's voice was firmer now. And musically, this is interesting. More interesting than another rendition of You Are My Sunshine, honestly. If Maya wants to perform and her therapist supports it, I can make it work. Aurora felt tears prick her eyes. Thank you. Don't thank me yet. I need to meet with Marcos, understand what Maya's capable of, and then redesign the arrangement. It's going to be tight. I'll set it up. That Saturday's community session felt charged with new possibility. Aurora explained the recital situation to Marcos, while Maya and Sophia explored a new instrument, a set of rain sticks that made cascading water sounds when tilted. Patterson's open to it, Aurora finished. But she needs to understand what Maya can actually do. Marcos watched Maya carefully tilt her rain stick, listening to the sound intensify and fade. Performance adds a different kind of pressure. It's not just making sounds in a safe space anymore, it's making sounds with an audience watching. That's a huge ask for a kid working through selective mutism. So you think we shouldn't do it? I think we should ask Maya what she wants, and then build supports around that choice. If she wants to perform, we make it as safe as possible. If she doesn't, we honor that too. They approached the rain stick station where Maya and Sophia were now experimenting with dueling rhythms, Sophia creating fast, excited cascades, while Maya made slow, deliberate ones. Maya, Marcos crouched to her level. Your mom told me about the school recital. How are you feeling about that? Maya's hands stilled on the rain stick. She looked at Sophia, then at Aurora, then back at Marcos. Scared, she whispered. That makes sense. Performing is scary. Marcos's voice was gentle, matter-of-fact. Want to know a secret? Maya nodded. I still get scared when I perform, even though I've been doing it for 20 years. Being scared doesn't mean you shouldn't do it. It just means it matters to you. What if I mess up? Then you mess up and the world keeps turning. Want to know another secret? Marcos leaned in conspiratorially. The kids who make mistakes during performances are usually the ones learning the most. Sophia bounced on her toes. Maya, you could do your rain sounds, or the ocean drum, or the kalimba song you made. Maya's expression was conflicted fear and hope, warring visibly. We don't have to decide right now, Aurora said. Ms. Patterson wants to meet with Marcos and see what you can do. Then we can all decide together if this feels right. Can Sophia come? Maya asked. The question surprised everyone. Marcos and Aurora exchanged glances. To the meeting, Aurora clarified. Maya nodded. Sophia makes it feel safer. Aurora's chest tightened with love for her daughter's wisdom, understanding already that she needed her own support system, that asking for help was strength, not weakness. I think we can arrange that, Marcos said warmly. The meeting happened Tuesday after school in Patterson's music room. Maya, Sophia, Aurora, and Marcos gathered around the piano while Patterson pulled up the recital program on her computer. Okay, Patterson began, her energy infectious. The second grade portion is currently 3 songs, What a Wonderful World, Somewhere Over the Rainbow, and You Are My Sunshine. The kids sing, some have small solos, and there's basic choreography. Here's what I'm thinking. What if we restructure the final song to include instrumental interludes where Maya can showcase what she does? She played a simplified version of You Are My Sunshine on the piano, then stopped at the chorus. Right here, what if instead of everyone singing, we have a moment of quiet, and Maya creates a sound landscape, rain, ocean, wind, whatever feels right to her. Then the other kids come back in. Maya's eyes were wide. She looked at Marcos. Want to try it? He asked. Maya nodded slowly. Patterson gestured to the instrument corner. Show me what you like to play. Maya gravitated immediately to the rain stick, tilting it to create the cascading water sound she'd mastered. Sophia grabbed a set of finger cymbals, chiming along in rhythm. Then Maya moved to the ocean drum, creating rolling wave sounds that somehow harmonized with the song's melody. Patterson was grinning now, scribbling notes. This is perfect. It's like a weather interlude. Sun, rain, ocean, back to sun. thematically on point and musically interesting. "What about the other kids?" Aurora asked. "How will they react to Maya doing something different?" "We frame it right. Music has lots of languages. Some people use words. Some use instruments. Some use sounds. Maya's sounds are just as valid as anyone singing." Patterson looked at Maya directly. "Would you be okay if I explain to the class that you make music with sounds instead of words?" Maya hesitated, then nodded. "And here's the thing, I bet some of the other kids will be relieved. Not everyone loves singing solos, but everyone likes making cool sounds." Patterson pulled up a blank sheet music program on her computer. "I'm going to score this out. Marcos, can you work with Maya over the next 2 weeks to build her confidence with performing these sounds for an audience?" "Absolutely." "There's one more thing," Sophia piped up, surprising everyone. "What if I do the sounds with Maya, like we could be partners? Then she's not alone up there." Patterson and Marcos exchanged glances, some unspoken communication passing between them. "Sophia, that's very generous," Marcos began carefully. "But this might be something Maya needs to do herself." "Actually," Maya's whisper cut through, "I want Sophia with me." Aurora watched her daughter's face, the mix of fear and determination, the understanding that she needed support but was willing to try anyway. "Then that's what we'll do," Patterson declared. "Maya and Sophia sound partners. I love it." Walking to the car afterward, Maya slipped her hand into Aurora's. "Mama, will you come to the practices? Every single one, baby." That night, Aurora was copying the recital date into her calendar when she saw the conflict. May 15th, the same day as the Connex keynote presentation, her career-defining moment that the board had grudgingly approved. The launch was scheduled for 2 p.m. The recital was at 7 p.m. In theory, she could do both. In practice, launches never went according to schedule. Press interviews would run long. Investor questions would pile up. The celebration afterward would be expected. Aurora stared at her calendar, feeling the familiar squeeze of impossible choices. Her phone buzzed with an email from Catherine Whitmore. "Aurora, Connex launch confirmed May 15th, 2 p.m. We've invited key investors for the presentation and scheduled press briefings from 4-6 p.m. Plan to be available until at least 7 p.m. This is your moment to prove the board made the right call. Don't waste it. CW, 7 p.m. The exact moment Maya would be walking on stage. Aurora's hands trembled as she typed a response. "Catherine, I have a family commitment at 7 p.m. that evening. I can do the presentation and press briefings, but I'll need to leave by 6:30. The response came back in under a minute. "Absolutely not. This is exactly the kind of divided focus that concerns the board. The launch is all day. You're either all in or you're out. Choose." Aurora looked at the email, then at Maya's bedroom door, then back at the email. She thought about Vaughn's predatory offer, about Mitchell's social media screenshots, about Torres's skepticism and the board's fragile trust. She thought about Maya's whispered, "Mama, will you come to the practices?" And she realized something had shifted in her that couldn't be undone. 2 months ago, this wouldn't have been a choice. The company would have won by default, and she would have convinced herself that providing for Maya financially was the same as being present. But she'd watched her daughter find her voice in a playground game about flying through clouds. She'd seen Maya compose her first melody, tap her heartbeat onto a drum, ask for Sophia's partnership. She'd witnessed courage that had nothing to do with boardrooms and everything to do with showing up as yourself, messy and imperfect and real. Aurora deleted her response to Whitmore and wrote a new one. "I'll be at the presentation and available until 6:30 p.m. My daughter has a school performance at 7 p.m. that I will not miss. If the board considers that a fireable offense, we should have that conversation now rather than on launch day. She hit send before fear could stop her. Whitmore's response took longer this time, a full 15 minutes that felt like hours. We'll make it work. But Aurora, the presentation needs to be absolutely flawless. No room for error. Understood. Aurora exhaled shakily. Understood. The next 2 weeks blurred into an impossible juggling act. Aurora spent mornings at Glass Tower, drilling the keynote presentation until she could recite it in her sleep. Afternoons were product reviews, press prep, investor calls. But every evening at 5, she left ignoring the raised eyebrows, the whispered comments, the subtle disapproval radiating from Torres and his allies. She went to Maya's recital rehearsals, sitting in the back of the music room, while Patterson walked the second graders through their parts. The other children had accepted Maya's sound interludes with surprising enthusiasm. Several asked if they could make weather sounds, too. Patterson, navigating the chaos with impressive patience, eventually added a moment where the whole class created a storm sound effect with Maya and Sophia leading. At the community center sessions, Marcos worked with Maya on managing performance anxiety breathing exercises, visualization creating an internal safe space she could access even on stage. Remember, he told her during one session, the sounds are yours. You're not performing for the audience, you're sharing something you already own. They're just lucky enough to witness it. Maya's progress was visible, but non-linear. Some days she'd play the rain stick with confidence, her sounds clear and intentional. Other days she'd freeze up, panic flickering across her face. Aurora learned to read the signs, to know when to encourage and when to give space. Sophia was a constant, cheerful presence, chattering about costume ideas. She insisted they needed rain capes, practicing their sound partnership, treating the whole thing as the grandest adventure. We're going to be famous, Sophia announced one Saturday, spreading her arms wide. The famous sound partners of Willow Creek. Maya giggled, an actual giggle that made Aurora's heart soar. But beneath the surface of these small victories, Aurora could feel the pressure building. Online chatter about her company had intensified. A tech blogger had written a piece titled, "Can Aurora Chen Have It All?" that analyzed her recent erratic behavior, declining calls leaving early, the rumored family crisis. Mitchell, to his credit, was trying to contain the narrative. But the internet had its teeth in the story now, and internet mobs didn't release easily. Then 1 week before launch, everything exploded. Someone Aurora never found out who leaked footage from one of Maya's rehearsals. Not the official school recording, but shaky cell phone video clearly taken by a parent. The clip showed Maya frozen at the front of the music room, unable to make a sound, while the other children waited. The caption read, "CEO's daughter can't perform. Should Aurora Chen be running a family tech company?" The video went viral in hours, 30,000 shares. Comments ranged from sympathetic to vicious. That poor child is being exploited. Aurora Chen is using her daughter's disability for PR. This is heartbreaking. Get that kid real help, not community center feel-good nonsense. Aurora saw the video at 10 p.m., sitting in her home office, and felt her world tilt. Maya was asleep upstairs, unaware that her worst moment had been broadcast to strangers for judgment. Her phone rang. Mitchell. "Have you seen it?" he asked without preamble. "Yes." "It's bad, Aurora. The board is calling an emergency meeting tomorrow morning. Whitmore is furious. She thinks this proves you're too compromised to lead. It's not even from the launch. It's my daughter's school rehearsal. Doesn't matter. The optics are terrible." Mitchell's voice dropped. "Derek Vaughn's offer is back on the table. The board is seriously considering it." Aurora closed her eyes, feeling the walls close in from every direction. "I'll be there tomorrow." After hanging up, she sat in the dark for a long time, the leaked video playing on loop in her mind. That rehearsal had been 3 days ago, a bad day when Maya had gotten overwhelmed and shut down. But they'd worked through it. By the end of the session, Maya had managed her rainstick solo. The video didn't show that part, of course. It only showed the failure. A soft sound made Aurora turn. Maya stood in the doorway, clutching the sea glass, her expression frightened. "Mama, why are you sad?" Aurora wiped her eyes quickly. "Just work stuff, baby. Nothing for you to worry about." "Is it because of me?" Maya's voice was so small. "Because I froze at practice." Aurora's heart cracked open. She crossed the room and pulled Maya close. "No, sweetheart. No. You're doing amazing. Some people just don't understand that healing isn't linear." What does linear mean? It means straight, like a line. But healing is more like... Aurora searched for the right metaphor. Like waves. Sometimes you're riding high, sometimes you dip low, but you're always moving forward. Maya was quiet for a moment, processing. Then, Marcos says the ocean makes sea glass by tumbling it over and over. It has to get broken and smoothed lots of times before it's beautiful. Aurora looked at her daughter, 7 years old, and already wiser than most adults she knew. "That's exactly right, baby. So maybe I'm still getting tumbled, and that's okay." Aurora held her tighter. Breathing in the scent of her shampoo, feeling the weight of her small body, knowing that this moment, this child, this love, was worth any sacrifice. It's more than okay. It's perfect. The next morning's board meeting was a battlefield. Whitmore opened with the leaked video playing on the screen, letting it speak for itself. "This," she said flatly, "is what happens when personal life bleeds into professional reputation. Our CEO's daughter's therapy session is now international news. Our brand is being associated with failure and exploitation. Derek, you have the floor." Vaughn stood smooth and confident as ever. "I'm not here to gloat. I'm here with a solution. NextGen's offer still stands controlling interest. Aurora transitions to CIO. We provide the operational stability and PR expertise to salvage this launch. The leak proves that Aurora's personal situation is a liability the company can't afford. It proves that someone violated my daughter's privacy for clicks," Aurora shot back. "It proves that you're a target," Vaughn countered. "Your personal life has become a weapon your competitors can use against you. Do you really want to keep fighting this battle while trying to run a company?" Torres spoke up. "I've run the numbers. If this launch fails because of distraction or bad press, we lose our Series C funding. 200 jobs disappear. That's the reality, Aurora." The room descended into arguing half the board, defending Aurora's track record, half calling for immediate change. Aurora sat silent, letting them fight her mind, racing through scenarios and outcomes. Finally, Whitmore called for order. "Aurora, you have something to say." Aurora stood, pulling up her laptop. "I do, but first I want to show you something." She played a different video, one she'd recorded last night after Maya went back to bed. In it, Aurora sat in her home office and spoke directly to camera. "My name is Aurora Chen. I'm the CEO of this company and the mother of a 7-year-old daughter with selective mutism." A video was leaked yesterday showing Maya struggling during a rehearsal. What that video didn't show was what happened next. How she worked through her fear. How she found her voice through sounds instead of words. How she's teaching everyone around her that there are multiple ways to communicate multiple definitions of success. The Connex platform is about creating permission for authentic connection. You can't build that if you're not willing to live it. Yes, my personal life affects my professional leadership. It makes me better at understanding what our users actually need, not more efficiency, but more safety. Not forced connection, but invited authenticity. So here's what I'm offering: judge me on results. The Connex beta metrics are the strongest in company history. Our user engagement scores exceed industry standards by 40%. Our retention rates are unprecedented. Those are facts. Everything else is noise. She stopped the video and faced the board directly. The launch is in 6 days. I will deliver a keynote presentation that redefines this market. I will prove that leading with vulnerability isn't weakness, it's the future. And yes, I will leave at 6:30 to watch my daughter perform, because that's what this whole product is supposed to enable: showing up for the moments that matter. If that's not acceptable, fire me now. But if you wait until after the launch and it succeeds, you'll regret not trusting me when it mattered. The silence that followed was absolute. Whitmore removed her glasses slowly. All in favor of tabling Vaughn's offer until after the launch results are clear. 14 hands went up, 9 stayed down. Motion carries. Aurora, you have 6 days. Don't waste them. Whitmore's expression was unreadable. Meeting adjourned. As the room emptied, Mitchell caught Aurora's arm. That was either the bravest thing I've ever seen or the most career-ending. Time will tell. Story of my life, Aurora murmured. She had 6 days to save her company and help her daughter find courage enough to perform. 6 days to prove that showing up was, in fact, the whole job. And if she failed, she'd lose everything. The 6 days before launch moved with the sickening speed of a car hydroplaning toward a cliff. Aurora barely slept, dividing her time between keynote rehearsals at Glass Tower and Maya's evening practices at Willow Creek. The pressure was a physical weight on her chest, making breathing feel optional. Wednesday afternoon, 3 days before launch, Aurora was running through the presentation for the 8th time when her phone buzzed with a news alert. She almost ignored it, then saw the headline, "Single Dad Music Therapist, the man behind CEO's daughter's recovery." Her stomach dropped. The article featured photos of Marcos at the community center, quotes from parents praising his work, and a carefully worded insinuation that his relationship with Aurora might be more than professional. The final paragraph made Aurora's blood run cold. Sources close to Chen suggest the CEO's recent erratic behavior may be influenced by personal entanglements rather than her daughter's needs. Questions arise about judgment and priorities as the Connex launch approaches. Aurora called Marcos immediately. He answered on the first ring, his voice tight. "You saw it." "I'm so sorry. I don't know how they—" "It's fine. I've dealt with worse." But his tone said it wasn't fine. "Sophia's getting questions at school. Parents asking if I'm dating you, if that's why Maya's in the recital." "God, Marcos, I never meant—" "I know you didn't. But Aurora, we need to be smart about this. The optics are already complicated. Maybe I should step back from the recital prep. Emily can handle the rest." "No." The word came out fierce. "Maya needs you. Sophia needs to be there. I'm not letting them weaponize our children's friendship." Marcos was quiet for a long moment. "Then we ignore it. We keep showing up. We let the work speak for itself." "Are you sure?" "No. But I'm sure that backing down teaches Sophia and Maya that bullies win. And I'm not teaching my daughter that." Aurora felt something crack in her chest. Gratitude and grief. And something else she didn't have time to examine. "Thank you." "Don't thank me yet. This could get uglier." It did. By Thursday morning, the story had metastasized. Parent gossip at Willow Creek intensified. Several mothers pointedly moved their children away when Maya approached at recess. Sophia, bless her fierce heart, stuck close to Maya's side and glared at anyone who whispered. Patterson pulled Aurora aside after Thursday's rehearsal, her expression troubled. "We have a problem. 3 parents have complained to Principal Henderson about Maya's participation. They're saying it's unfair that she gets special accommodation, that it's disrupting the program." "Disrupting how she's doing exactly what you asked." "I know, but there's concern about—" Patterson's voice dropped. "About whether this is actually for Maya's benefit or for your publicity. The leaked video made people question your motives." Aurora felt rage flash hot through her veins. "So they'd rather exclude a child working through trauma than risk looking inclusive. That's not what they're saying, but—" Patterson ran a hand through her hair, frustrated. "Look, Henderson is getting pressure. She's asking if we can move Maya's part to a non-speaking role. Maybe she could help with props during the performance instead of being on stage." "Absolutely not!" Aurora's voice was ice. "Maya chose to perform. She's been working her ass off to prepare. If Henderson has a problem, she can discuss it with me directly." Patterson nodded slowly. "I'll tell her. But Aurora, prepare for pushback. Some of these parents have money and influence. They're talking about pulling their kids from the performance if Maya participates. Let them pull out. Maya stays in." Walking to the car with Maya afterward, Aurora's hands shook with suppressed fury. Maya was quiet, clutching her rainstick. Her expression closed. "Baby, did something happen at school today?" Aurora asked gently. Maya's silence stretched, then so quietly Aurora almost missed it. "Emily said I talk weird. She said I should just use real words like normal kids." Aurora pulled over into a parking lot, turned off the car, and faced her daughter. "Emily is wrong. There is no one right way to communicate. Your sounds are real, your music is real, and anyone who says otherwise doesn't understand what they're hearing." "But what if she's right? What if everyone thinks I'm weird?" "Then everyone is missing out on knowing someone extraordinary." Aurora cupped Maya's face gently. "You know what I learned this week? Courage isn't about not being scared. It's about being terrified and showing up anyway. You're showing up, baby. That's the bravest thing in the world." Maya's eyes filled with tears. "I don't want to mess up your work thing." The statement hit Aurora like a punch. "Maya, look at me. Nothing is more important than you. Not my company, not the launch, not what anyone thinks. You are my priority, always." "But the board people said, the board people are wrong." Aurora's voice was fierce. "And I'm going to prove it. We're both going to prove it. Together." That night, Aurora couldn't sleep. She lay in bed at 2 a.m., staring at the ceiling, running worst-case scenarios on an endless loop. What if the presentation bombed? What if Maya froze on stage? What if Aurora's choice to leave early cost her everything? Her phone buzzed. A text from Marcos. "Can't sleep either. Sophia's nervous about Saturday. Want to do a final run-through tomorrow morning at the center." Aurora typed back. "Yes, thank you. For everything. We're in this together, all of us. Try to sleep." Friday morning's rehearsal at the community center felt different, charged with the weight of everything riding on tomorrow. Maya and Sophia practiced their sound partnership, while Marcos coached them on managing stage fright. "Remember," he told them, crouching to their level, "you're not performing for approval. You're sharing something beautiful. If people get it, wonderful. If they don't, that's their loss, not yours." Sophia nodded solemnly. "Papa, what if I mess up my cymbal part?" "Then you smile and keep going. Mistakes are just improvisation in disguise." Maya tested her rain stick, the cascading water sound filling the room. She'd gotten so much better at controlling the tone, the rhythm. But Aurora could see the tension in her daughter's small shoulders. "Maya," Marcos said gently, "what's your biggest fear about tomorrow night?" Maya's hands stilled on the rain stick. "That I'll freeze, like in the video. That everyone will see I can't do it." "Okay, that's a real fear. Let's plan for it." Marcos pulled out the sea glass from his pocket. He'd been carrying it to sessions, a shared talisman between him and Maya. "If you freeze, what do you need? To remember it's safe." "Right. So here's what we do. If you feel yourself freezing, you look at Sophia. She'll be right there. She'll give you the signal." He demonstrated a subtle hand squeeze. "That means, I'm here. You're safe. Take your time." "Can you practice that?" The girls ran through it several times. Sophia squeezing Maya's hand. Maya taking a breath and resuming her sounds. By the 10th try, Maya was smiling slightly, the exercise becoming a game rather than a crisis plan. But as they were packing up, Aurora's phone exploded with notifications. She glanced down and felt her blood turn to ice. A new article had dropped. Connex CEO prioritizes daughter's school play over make-or-break launch. The piece detailed Aurora's plan to leave the launch event early, quoted anonymous board members expressing concern, and suggested this proved Aurora was unfit for executive leadership. Worse, it had a quote from Derek Vaughan. "Aurora Chen is a brilliant innovator, but leadership requires sacrifice. Sometimes we have to choose between personal desires and professional responsibility. I hope she makes the right choice." Marcos saw her expression. "What happened?" Aurora showed him the article. His jaw tightened. "They're trying to force your hand, make you choose in public so they can criticize either decision." "It's working." Aurora's hands were shaking. "If I leave the launch early, they'll say I abandoned the company. If I skip Maya's performance, I prove them right about being a compromised leader. What does Maya need?" The question cut through Aurora's spiral. She looked at her daughter, who was showing Sophia a new rainstick pattern, oblivious to the machinations of adults trying to weaponize her healing. "Maya needs me there," Aurora said quietly. "And that's what matters. Then everything else is noise." That night, Aurora worked until 4 a.m. on the presentation, refining every slide, every transition, every word until it gleamed. But beneath the professional polish was raw truth, her own story. Maya's journey, the understanding that real connection required vulnerability, not perfection. At dawn, she sent the final version to the presentation team, then sent one more email. This one to Catherine Whitmore. "Catherine, tomorrow I will deliver the best keynote presentation of my career, and then I will leave at 6:30 p.m. to watch my daughter perform. If that costs me my position, so be it. But I won't sacrifice Maya to prove a point about dedication. Leadership isn't about grand gestures. It's about showing up for the moments that define who we are. See you at 2 p.m. Aurora." Whitmore's response came 15 minutes later. "I'll see you at 2 p.m. The board will be watching." Launch day arrived, wrapped in unseasonably warm May sunshine that felt like mockery, the world cheerful and bright while Aurora's entire future balanced on a knife's edge. She dressed with mechanical precision, navy power suit, minimal jewelry, hair pulled back severely. War paint for corporate battle. Maya was already awake when Aurora checked her room at 6 a.m., sitting on her bed, with the sea glass dressed in her school uniform, even though the performance wasn't for 13 hours. "Can't sleep either?" Aurora asked. Maya shook her head. "Mama? What if I forget what to do?" "Then you remember why you're doing it, not for anyone else. For you. because you chose this." Aurora sat beside her daughter. "Want to know a secret I'm terrified about today, too?" "You are. Absolutely. I have to stand in front of hundreds of people and convince them to believe in something I'm still figuring out myself. But you know what I realized? Being scared means it matters. And things that matter are worth the fear." Maya leaned against Aurora's side. "Ms. Patterson said we're weather storytellers. We tell the story of sun and rain and ocean, and then the sun comes back. That's beautiful. Is that what you're doing too? Telling a story?" Aurora considered this. "Yeah, baby. I guess I am." She dropped Maya at school at 7:30 with promises to be back by 6 for pre-performance prep. Maya clung to her slightly longer than usual, the sea glass pressed between their bodies like a secret. "I love you, Mama." "I love you more than all the clouds in the sky, baby." The Glass Tower Conference Center was already buzzing when Aurora arrived at noon. The tech press had descended in force, photographers setting up journalists claiming seats cameras being tested. Mitchell intercepted her at the entrance, his expression tight. "Good news and bad news. Good news, pre-registration is at capacity over 500 attendees. Bad news, Derek Vaughn is here as an investor observer, and he's been giving interviews." "Saying what?" "That he hopes I'm wrong about your priorities, that Connex deserves committed leadership." Mitchell's voice dropped. "Aurora, he's positioning himself as the reasonable alternative. If anything goes wrong today, nothing will go wrong." But doubt coiled in Aurora's stomach as she made her way to the green room. Through the window, she could see the auditorium filling investors in the front rows, press in the middle, customers and curiosity seekers in the back. Catherine Whitmore sat dead center, flanked by Richard Torres and 3 other board members, their expressions unreadable. The presentation was scheduled for 2 p.m. Aurora had 4 hours to prepare. At 1:30, her phone buzzed. A text from Emily Patterson. "Final rehearsal went great. Maya's ready. Sophia's ready. See you tonight." Then another from Marcos. "Whatever happens today, you've already won. Maya's courage doesn't need a perfect launch to be real." Aurora typed back, "Thank you for everything. For seeing us." His response was immediate. "That's what showing up looks like." At 1:45, Mitchell appeared at her door. 5-minute warning. Press pool wants a pre-show statement." Aurora followed him to the media area, where a cluster of journalists thrust microphones forward. Questions flew like projectiles. "Aurora, is it true you're leaving the launch early? How do you respond to critics who say you're using your daughter's condition for publicity? Derek Vaughn suggested you're not fit for leadership, any comment?" Aurora took a breath, finding her center. "I'm going to say this once. My daughter has selective mutism following the death of her father. She's been working incredibly hard to find her voice again, and tonight she's performing in her school recital. I will be there to support her, just as I'm here to support this launch. Leadership isn't about choosing between priorities, it's about honoring all of them. Now, if you'll excuse me, I have a presentation to deliver." She walked away from the shouted follow-ups, Mitchell hustling to keep pace. "That was either brilliant or career-ending, I know. You keep saying that." At exactly 2 p.m. Aurora walked onto the stage. The auditorium was packed, the silence expectant and slightly hostile. She could feel the doubt radiating from the audience. Let's see if she can actually deliver. Aurora clicked to the first slide, a photo of Maya at the playground pre-speech, looking small and isolated. 18 months ago. Aurora began, her voice steady. My daughter stopped speaking. I tried everything to fix her specialist's therapy medication, behavioral interventions. Nothing worked. And you know why? Because I was asking the wrong question. She advanced to the next slide, Maya at the drum circle. Hands on the ocean drum, the beginning of a smile. I kept asking, how do I make her speak, when I should have been asking, how do I make it safe for her to choose to speak? That shift from force to permission changed everything, and it's the same shift that will revolutionize how we think about family technology. The presentation unfolded from there, Aurora weaving her personal story with product features, user testimonials, market analysis. She showed videos of beta testers describing Connex not as a communication tool, but as a permission structure. She presented data showing that users engaged more deeply when the technology reduced pressure rather than increased it. Every other platform in this space is selling efficiency. Aurora continued her confidence building. Connect faster, share more, optimize your family time. But that's not what families actually need. They need safety. They need permission to be imperfect. They need technology that doesn't judge their pace. She could see some heads nodding, now journalists scribbling notes. Even Whitmore's expression had shifted from skeptical to thoughtful. Connex is different because it was born from lived experience, from watching my daughter teach me that healing doesn't follow a schedule, that connection requires patience, that the most powerful technology simply creates space for people to be themselves. The slides showed the interface Aurora had redesigned based on this philosophy: no read receipts causing anxiety. No optimal engagement prompts, no metrics shaming users into performing connection. Just simple, clean tools that facilitated communication without demanding it. The market analysis shows a $3 billion opportunity in trauma-informed family tech, Aurora said, advancing to her financial projections. We're not just launching a product, we're pioneering a category. And our beta metrics prove users want this. 67% retention after 3 months, 92% report reduced family stress. These aren't just numbers, they're evidence that permission works better than pressure. She was 40 minutes into the presentation, fully in her element now, when a commotion at the back of the auditorium made her pause. A journalist was standing, phone to his ear, his expression urgent. Then another stood, and another. Aurora's stomach dropped. Is there a problem? Mitchell appeared at the side of the stage, his face pale. He made a cutting gesture, stop the presentation. Aurora's mind raced. What could possibly... Then she saw it. People in the audience were checking their phones, expressions ranging from shock to schadenfreude. A murmur rippled through the room, building to a low roar. Whitmore stood. Aurora, we need to pause. There's been a development. What kind of development? Mitchell reached the stage, leaning in to whisper. Someone leaked audio from Maya's therapy session, the one where she froze. It's everywhere, Twitter news sites going viral. They're calling it child exploitation. The floor seemed to tilt beneath Aurora's feet. What? How? Doesn't matter. It's out there. And people are... Mitchell's voice cracked. They're saying terrible things about Maya, about you, about the launch being a publicity stunt built on your daughter's trauma. Aurora's vision tunneled. Somewhere in the distance, she heard voices talking Vaughn, offering to step in and salvage the situation. Torres calling for an emergency board session, press firing questions about ethics and exploitation. But all Aurora could think was Maya. This would hit social media. Other kids would see it. Maya would find out that her private moment of struggle had been turned into ammunition against her mother. I need to... Aurora couldn't finish the sentence. She needed to get to Maya. Needed to protect her from this. Needed to... Her phone rang. Emily Patterson. Aurora answered with shaking hands. Emily. Aurora. I'm so sorry to call during the launch, but Maya saw something on a parent's phone. Someone showed her. She's asking for you. She's not panicking, but she wants her mom. The choice crystallized with brutal clarity. Aurora looked out at the audience, at the investors who'd come to judge her, the press waiting to document her failure. The board members calculating their next move. She saw Vaughn in the back, his expression smug, already planning his takeover. And she realized she'd been asking the wrong question all along. Not, can I save my career and my daughter? But, which version of leadership actually matters? Aurora removed her microphone with steady hands. Ladies and gentlemen, I need to pause this presentation. There's been a situation involving my daughter that requires my immediate attention. Mitchell will handle questions. We'll reconvene. She stopped, looked at Whitmore directly. Actually, no. We won't reconvene. This presentation is over. The product speaks for itself. The metrics are in your folders. My daughter needs me, and that's where I'm going. The auditorium erupted. Whitmore stood. Aurora, if you walk off this stage right now, then fire me, Catherine. But I'm done pretending there's a version of success that requires sacrificing my child. Aurora gathered her materials, her hands surprisingly steady. I spent 18 months trying to force Maya's healing into a timeline that suited my career. I'm not making that mistake again. She walked off the stage to an explosion of camera flashes and shouted questions. Mitchell tried to intercept her, but Aurora pushed past, focusing on one thing, only getting to her daughter. The drive to Willow Creek Elementary took 15 minutes that felt like hours. Aurora's phone buzzed non-stop calls from board members, texts from investors' alerts about the story trending nationally. She ignored all of it. When she arrived, Patterson was waiting outside the music room, her expression worried. She's okay. Upset, but okay. Sophia's with her. Aurora entered to find Maya and Sophia sitting against the wall, the rain stick between them. Maya's face was tear-stained, but not panicked. When she saw Aurora, she stood and walked into her mother's arms. They said you were using me for work, Maya whispered against Aurora's shoulder. That I was a publicity thing. That's not true, baby. That will never be true. Are you in trouble because of me? Aurora pulled back to look at her daughter's face. No. I'm in trouble because I spent too long caring what people who don't matter think. But that's done now. You're what matters. This, she gestured to the music room, to the instruments, to Sophia watching quietly. This is what matters. Maya's grip tightened on the sea glass. Mama, I don't want to perform tonight. Everyone will be looking at me thinking bad things. Aurora's heart broke. After all the work, all the courage Maya had built, the vultures had stolen it. Okay, baby. You don't have to perform. We can… Wait! Sophia's voice cut through, surprisingly fierce. Maya, you're going to let them win. Maya looked at her friend, confused. The mean people who posted the video. They want you to hide. They want you to be quiet. Sophia stood, her small body radiating defiance. But you're not quiet anymore. You have sounds. Beautiful sounds. And if you don't perform, they took that away from you. Sophia. Marcos had arrived, apparently standing in the doorway. It's Maya's choice. I know it's her choice. Sophia's eyes were blazing. But I want her to choose brave instead of scared. Because Maya is the bravest person I know, and everyone should get to see that. Maya was crying again, but differently now. I'm scared they'll laugh. Then let them laugh, Sophia said. We'll make our sounds anyway. Together, like we practiced. Aurora watched her daughter's face, the fear and hope warring there, the 7-year-old trying to decide what kind of person she wanted to be. Marcos crouched beside both girls. Maya, listen to me. You don't owe anyone a performance. Not the school, not the audience, not even Sophia and me. But if you want to perform, if you choose it for yourself, then we'll be right there with you. And whatever happens, you'll know you were brave enough to try. Maya looked at Aurora. What should I do? Aurora chose her words carefully. I can't answer that for you, baby. But I can tell you this, I just walked away from the biggest presentation of my career to be here. Because you matter more than any job. So if you want to perform, I'll be in the front row. If you want to go home and hide under blankets, I'll be there too. Whatever you choose, I choose you. The silence stretched. Then Maya whispered, I want to perform. Sophia whooped. Marcos exhaled. Aurora felt tears streaming down her face. Okay, she managed. Then let's get you ready. Patterson appeared with costumes, the rain capes Sophia had insisted on, which turned out to be beautiful silvery fabric that shimmered like water. As the girls changed, Aurora's phone buzzed one final time. A text from Catherine Whitmore. The board is voting tonight at 8 p.m. on your termination. Derek Vaughn will be named interim CEO. I'm sorry, Aurora. You chose your daughter. Now live with the consequences. Aurora stared at the message, feeling oddly calm. She'd lost her company. Everything she'd built for 6 years gone. And standing in this elementary school music room, watching her daughter prepare to perform, despite her fear, Aurora realized something profound. She didn't regret it. Not even a little. Outside, the May evening had turned golden, that perfect spring light that made everything look like a painting. Parents began arriving for the performance, filling the hallway with chatter. Aurora heard fragments of conversation, some supportive, some clearly judgmental. But none of it mattered. At 6:45, Aurora took her seat in the front row of the small auditorium. Marcos sat 2 seats away, Sophia bouncing with nervous energy beside him. The room filled quickly, the lights dimming at 7 p.m. sharp. Principal Henderson gave opening remarks that Aurora didn't hear, her eyes locked on the stage curtain, knowing her daughter was somewhere behind it, gathering courage. The first 2 songs went smoothly, What a Wonderful World, and Somewhere Over the Rainbow, the second graders performing with earnest, slightly off-key enthusiasm. Parents recorded on phones, proud and emotional. Then Patterson walked to the center of the stage. Our final song tonight is You Are My Sunshine, but we're going to perform it a little differently. Music has many languages. Some use words, some use instruments, some use sounds. Tonight, Maya Chen and Sophia Alvarez will tell the story of weather through sound, reminding us that sunshine always returns after the rain. Aurora's heart hammered as the curtain rose on the full 2nd grade class. Maya and Sophia stood front and center, Maya in her rain cape, clutching her rain stick, her face pale but determined. The piano introduction began. The children started singing, You Are My Sunshine, My Only Sunshine. And then, at the chorus, Patterson signaled the pause. The singing stopped. Complete silence. Maya raised her rain stick. Aurora held her breath. For a moment, an eternal, terrifying moment, nothing happened. Maya stood frozen, the rain stick tilted but no sound emerging, her eyes wide with the same panic Aurora had seen in the leaked video. Beside her, Sophia reached out and squeezed Maya's hand. The signal. I'm here. You're safe. Take your time. Maya's eyes found Aurora's in the audience, and Aurora smiled, not a forced, encouraging smile, but a real one. A smile that said, I see you and you're perfect exactly as you are, sound or no sound. Maya's fingers relaxed on the rain stick, and the sound of rain began. Soft at first, then building a cascade of rhythm that filled the small auditorium like actual weather. Sophia joined with her finger cymbals, creating the shimmer of raindrops hitting surfaces. The audience was transfixed. Then Maya shifted to the ocean drum, creating rolling wave sounds that somehow harmonized with the melody the other children had been singing. The transition from rain to ocean was seamless, organic, a story told entirely in sound. And then softly, almost imperceptibly, Maya began to hum. Not words, just a pure, sustained tone that wove through the instrumental sounds like a thread of light through storm clouds. Aurora was crying openly now, not caring who saw. The other children joined back in singing the final verse. "You'll never know, dear, how much I love you," while Maya's hum continued underneath, and Sophia's cymbals sparkled, and the ocean drum rolled like waves returning to shore. When the final note faded, the silence lasted 3 full seconds. Then, the auditorium erupted in applause. Maya stood center stage, her rain cape shimmering in the lights, a smile breaking across her face, like sunrise after the longest night. Aurora was on her feet, clapping, until her hands hurt tears streaming down her face. Around her, other parents stood too, even some who'd been skeptical, moved despite themselves. Maya's eyes found Aurora's again. And this time Aurora saw something new there. Pride. Not in approval earned or expectations met, but in herself. In her own courage. In the choice she'd made to try to be seen to share her voice in the language that felt true. As the second graders took their bows, Sophia grabbed Maya's hand, and they curtsied together, giggling. The audience loved it, applause building again. Patterson was beaming. Marcos was wiping his own eyes. And Aurora understood with sudden clarity what Marcos had been trying to tell her all along. This was what healing looked like. Not perfect, not linear, not fitting anyone's timeline but Maya's own, but real and beautiful and earned. After the performance, Aurora waited in the hallway as parents collected their children. Several approached to congratulate Maya, who accepted praise with shy smiles, Sophia chattering excitedly beside her. Then Aurora saw him. Derek Vaughn, standing near the exit, looking remarkably out of place in his expensive suit among the casual parent crowd. He approached with that practiced smile. "That was quite a performance. What are you doing here, Derek?" "Witnessing history, the night Aurora Chen chose her daughter over her career." His voice was sympathetic in that calculated way. "For what it's worth, I understand why you did it. But the board has made their decision. As of 8 p.m. tonight, I'm interim CEO. You'll have until Monday to clear your office." Aurora looked at him, really looked at him, seeing the ambition and opportunism and complete lack of understanding about what actually mattered. "You know what, Derek? Take it. Take the company. Because tonight I watched my daughter do the bravest thing I've ever seen. She stood on that stage, terrified, and performed anyway. She chose courage over comfort, and I got to be here to witness it." Aurora's voice was steady, certain. "You can have the CEO title. You can have the board's approval. You can have the whole damn company. But you'll never understand what I have right now." Vaughn's expression flickered with confusion. "And what's that, everything that matters?" Aurora turned away from him toward Maya and Sophia and Marcos, toward the life she was choosing with absolute clarity. Whatever came next, she'd figure it out. But she'd figure it out with her daughter's hand in hers, and that was worth any price. The post-performance gathering in the Willow Creek hallway felt surreal, parents congratulating their children, Sophia showing off her cymbal technique, Maya quiet but glowing. Aurora stood slightly apart, Derek Vaughn's words still echoing. As of 8 p.m. tonight, I'm interim CEO. She checked her phone. 7:58. 2 minutes until the board vote that would end everything she'd built. Mama. Maya tugged her sleeve. Can we get ice cream? Ms. Patterson said weather storytellers deserve ice cream. Aurora looked at her daughter's hopeful face, at Sophia bouncing excitedly at Marcos, watching them with that gentle smile. The corporate machinery grinding her career to dust felt suddenly distant, almost irrelevant. Absolutely, baby. The best weather storytellers deserve the best ice cream. They ended up at an all-night diner 3 blocks away, the girls ordering absurd sundaes, while Aurora's phone buzzed continuously with notifications she couldn't bring herself to check. At 8:03 p.m., Mitchell's name appeared. Aurora stepped outside to take the call, her hands shaking. Just tell me, she said without preamble. Did they fire me? Mitchell's pause felt eternal. The vote was 11-12. You won by 1 vote. Aurora's brain stuttered. I won. The leaked audio backfired. Someone identified the parent who filmed it. Turns out it was coordinated with a competing firm. The internet turned on them, hard. Mitchell's voice held wonder. There's a hashtag trending. Let her set the tempo. Started with Connex users defending you, then exploded. Aurora, you've got thousands of people advocating for you. Aurora leaned against the diner's brick wall, struggling to process. After you left, I ran the rest of your presentation, Mitchell continued. The metrics landed. The user testimonials resonated. Then Nexcore Technologies, your biggest competitor, released a statement calling your approach revolutionary. They're pivoting their entire division to follow your permission-based model. Suddenly firing you would look like punishing you for being right. So I still have my job. Barely. Catherine wants the Connex launch completed over 2 weeks. Prove the model scales. No more disappearing acts. Mitchell paused. But Aurora, watching Maya perform tonight, seeing you choose her, I finally understood what you've been trying to tell us. Leadership isn't superhuman sacrifice. It's being human enough to admit what matters. Back inside, Marcos was helping the girls build whipped cream sculptures, their laughter filling the booth. Aurora slid in beside Maya, and her daughter immediately leaned against her. Good news, Marcos asked quietly. I don't know how to process good news. I was ready for disaster. He smiled. Welcome to parenting through trauma. Prepare for the worst, get surprised by the best. He pulled out his phone, scrolling. Have you seen the hashtag? Aurora watched video after video, scroll past parents sharing stories of kids with special needs, therapists praising trauma-informed approaches, educators rethinking participation models. Then she saw one that made her breath catch. Marcos speaking directly to camera. My name is Marcos Alvarez. I'm a music therapist who worked with Aurora Chen. Today, audio was leaked of her difficult moment, a private struggle that should have remained protected. I want to address accusations that Aurora exploited her daughter. His expression was fierce. Aurora didn't exploit Maya. She protected her. She fought administrators who wanted to sideline her. She walked away from her career-defining moment to be present when Maya needed support. That's not exploitation. That's extraordinary parenting. The video had 200,000 views. Aurora looked up at Marcos, who was suddenly very interested in his coffee. You didn't tell me you posted that. Posted it right after the performance. Felt like someone needed to say it. He met her eyes. You've been fighting alone too long, Aurora. Maybe it's time to let people fight with you. Her phone rang. Catherine Whitmore. "You're full of surprises, Aurora Chen," Whitmore said without preamble. "I spent today preparing to fire you, and instead you're a viral sensation for good parenting." "I wasn't trying to. I know, that's what makes it work." Whitmore's tone shifted. "The vote was close. You won because public sentiment shifted dramatically, and we couldn't ignore that. But you're on probation. The launch needs to succeed. Prove this wasn't luck, but a sustainable model." "I understand. Do you?" "Because I've watched brilliant people burn out trying to do everything. You can't be supermom and super CEO simultaneously." Whitmore's voice softened fractionally. "Build support systems. Delegate. I voted to keep you not because I think you're superhuman, but because you're finally learning you don't have to be." The following days blurred into managed chaos. The hatched letter set. The tempo movement evolved beyond Aurora's story. Parents demanding trauma-informed school approaches, therapists sharing permission-based techniques, educators rethinking success metrics. Connect's downloads tripled. User testimonials flooded in. And on Tuesday afternoon, Aurora made a decision that would have seemed insane 2 months ago. She called Marcos. "How would you feel about a job offer?" "What kind of job?" "Director of Community Wellness Programs. Create a division focused on trauma-informed technology. Consult on product design, run pilot programs. Build therapy partnerships. Make sure we're actually delivering permission-based tech, not just talking about it." Silence stretched. Aurora's stomach twisted. Maybe she'd overstepped. "Can I think about it?" "It's not a no. But Sophia's in school here. We have routines." "Of course. Take your time." "Aurora, thank you for trusting me with this." Wednesday brought an unexpected call from Emily Patterson. "You need to come to the school, now." Aurora arrived to find the music room packed with parents, teachers, and administrators from districts across the city. Principal Henderson stood at the front, looking uncomfortable but determined. "Mrs. Chen, after Maya's performance, we received overwhelming inquiries from other schools," Henderson began. "Parents wanting inclusive music programming, teachers asking about trauma-informed performances. We realized we'd been treating Maya's participation as accommodation when we should have been treating it as innovation." Patterson stepped forward, glowing. "We're proposing a pilot program, music therapy partnerships between schools and community centers, performances, welcoming multiple forms of expression. We want to call it the Maya Chen Initiative." Aurora's throat tightened. "Maya might not want—" "We asked her," Patterson interrupted gently. "Yesterday, Marcos brought her to a planning session. She said yes. She said she wants other